Jotitos Podcast, right?
Échale, mijo.
¿Qué onda, Jotitos? Bienvenidos al primer episodio de Jotitos Podcast con su host Jesús Martínez Avilés. Este podcast para los jotitos traídos a ustedes por un jotito. Quiero darle la bienvenida a cada uno de ustedes que nos están viendo. I want to welcome you to my podcast. This is something very new that I'm doing. I just felt like, trying something new, going through two different means. So welcome to this first Jotitos Podcast. Y ahora voy a presentarme. Mi nombre es Jesús Martínez Avilés. Vivo en el estado de Iowa, pero soy nacido en Tlapehuala, Guerrero, México. Así que le mando un saludo grande, un fuerte abrazo a todos mis parientes, a mis familiares, a mis amigos, a la patria ahí de México, lo que nos están viendo de cualquier parte. Y pues sí, vamos a darle duro con el Jotitos Podcast. Today, I'll be answering your burning questions. A week ago, I asked my friends and followers on Instagram to submit questions on my story so that I could post and answer for my very first vlog audio podcast. So some questions are super deep, some questions are lighthearted, some questions are silly, pero hoy no tengo filtro, así que las estaré contestando todas. And yeah, we're just gonna get to know each other a little bit more. In this video, I'll solely just be answering questions, and then in the future videos where I talk more in depth about like my life, I will be answering different more in-depth questions and presenting like where I live, my family, all that jazz. So stay tuned for the next and upcoming videos. The way I'll be answering the questions are in kind of an order that I placed them in. I picked like top 10, top 12 questions, and I'll be answering them in an order that makes sense. So grab some popcorn, grab some juice.
It's my cookie, it's my juice.
Grab some popcorn, grab a snack, and get ready to know a little bit more about me based on your burning questions. Okay, so the very first question is by Sophia. Okay. Sophia is asking, what inspired you to make vlogs or be an influencer? My social media journey started back in February of 2023, and I started as just a simple guy who was making outfit videos in my dorm room in college. I didn't have any social media background. I really much wanted to be like mysterious, nonchalant type person on Instagram, and very much so I was, but then, after a little bit, I started to realize that like I wanted to put myself out there, and I saw that being an influencer, like posting videos, was a lot more like trendy nowadays. So I very much wanted to like put myself out there and just see like what I could make of myself, and thus was born Jesus.thrifts. I really started by just posting outfit videos because I was very much into thrift, into fashion, and I can talk about that story in another video of where Jesus Thrifts was born and kind of my backstory of my childhood and my upbringing and things like that. The next question is brought to us by Pablo, and Pablo is asking, do you ever plan on making your own brand of clothes? And the short answer to that, Pablo, is no. I don't have that in the plans or in the works.
Oh, who are you?
It's just not something that I've envisioned for myself just yet. I think I'm a very small content creator. I'm a very person who has a niche audience, and I just don't think that I'm at that level to do that. Maybe in the future, si se da la oportunidad and like I get bigger, God willing, then maybe I can bring something out, maybe like not like merch or anything like that, but something that has my name on it, that's my creation. But yeah, as of right now, that's not in the works, but maybe in the future. The next question is by Leo. Leo's asking, what is your morning routine? I'm a simple guy. I really just wake up in the morning, brush my teeth, take a shower, make myself a banana chocolate protein shake. And I've gotten really much into the habit of making my own bed in the morning because I feel like that just wakes me up a little bit more. And then when I get back to my room, I know that I don't have the responsibility of tener que limpiar el cuarto again and like all that. So like I'm just really like making that routine and, just being more responsible in the morning to like get up, get out of my bed and just, start my day as I should. Navajo Hippie is asking, is college better than high school? I'm graduating high school soon. For me, College has been better because high school and college are two separate experiences. I very much didn't have the traditional high school experience, and I can talk about that in a later video as well. But college was much more of a better experience because I really got to get out of my shell and, you know, like expandir like mis alas or whatever. And I just had a lot more experiences with like friends and like schools and like and stuff like that. So I feel like college for me was much better. I very much encourage everyone to, like, you know, graduate high school, go to class, get good grades, get to a good college, you know, use your resources, because, you know, there's opportunities out there for everybody. So very much so, you know, get your education. College is definitely worth it. L. Soto is asking, what are you majoring in / career goal? And 713.guile is asking, if what you're studying didn't go as planned, what would be your second option? So I started college as a freshman in pre-med, and then I went to biology, and then I went to nursing. And mind you, that was all in my first semester of college. Really soon though, I started to realize that it just wasn't what I wanted to do. So then I looked back to high school, and I did a lot of journalism in high school. So I thought maybe a major that's close to that in college is communication. So right now I have been doing communications and media practice for 4 years, and just last year in my junior year I added minors in English and Spanish. So for me, it's been a really good experience. Obviously comms and social media and all that wasn't my first plan, but it was something that I really enjoyed doing because I knew I had a passion for it. So my advice for you would be to, you know, pick something that you're passionate about. Pick something that, you know, is not only going to make you money, but something that's gonna, you know, make you want to wake up every day and want to go to work. Fuego Flare asks, is college hard? The simple answer is college is hard if you make it hard. You know, there's always a solution to everything. I'm very much a guy that believes that, like, you know, everything falls into place and like God has a plan for all that. So as long as you like do your part, you know, take initiative, go to class, get good grades, then, you know, college won't be as hard. Obviously, I know there's like a lot of nuance to that. There's systemic barriers, legal barriers, financial barriers. There's so many. I've always grown up with the concept of el que quiere puede, and, you know, el que quiera salir adelante va a salir adelante. You know, like, it's really hard, and trust me, I will talk about this in a future video, but for me, college was very much difficult because of systemic barriers, legal barriers, and things like that. So, you know, I'll talk about that in another video, but, you know, if I can do it, then you guys can too, you know, especially first gen students or students even who are undocumented. You know, like, it's really hard, and there's a lot of different experiences out there, but like I said, you know, you have to have a passion for, you know, for querer salir adelante, and, you know, as long as you keep with that, then everything's gonna be okay. The next question is dream job ? My dream job is to be a news anchor in local news. That was like my very first thing that I wanted to do once I started in the communications major. You know, it's kind of shifted a little bit. I've wanted to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and like for me, like, it's just kind of a process of discovering myself, discovering my passion. So I very much feel like, you know, I'm still very much discovering like who I want to be. My long-term goal is to stay where I'm at right now and to, you know, have a job that like serves the community, whether that be through local journalism, local news, nonprofits, things of that nature. You know, right now I do Spanish interpretation, so, you know, para mí es un honor poder servir la comunidad latina, y pues, like, I've always really tried to like give back to my community. So whatever job obviously pays the bills, but also whatever job, you know, satisfies that necessity in me para, you know, servir a los demás, then I'm all for it, you know, lo que caiga. Brandon Too Tall is asking, if you could change anything about yourself, what would it be? For me, that's kind of a deep question, but, you know, con todo gusto te lo voy a responder. As a society, there's so much pressure to look a certain way, to talk a certain way, to act a certain way, especially in the environments that I grew up in, not only with family, but like with school and society and things like that. But yeah, I mean, for me personally, I've gotten to a place in my life where I'm not much of an insecure person anymore. You know, I've kind of matured in that mindset where I don't, you know, there's no point. There's no point in having so much insecurities on myself that I can't change. And mind you, I'm talking about personal experience. Everyone has their own experience. But, you know, from society, there's a lot of pressure to like fit into these norms and, you know, be insecure about this, be insecure about that. But like, I've grown to like love myself very much in the sense that like I don't have to fill the standards of anybody else, whether that be physically, mentally, emotionally. I don't have to do anything, you know, that is going to satisfy anybody else, because, you know, it's my life and I deserve to be happy in the body that I'm living in. But to answer your question, I've been insecure in the past about my weight, about my height, about my teeth, about, you know, the language I speak, even growing up, and the color of my skin, all that. And like, you know, I've gone to a place where like I've become very vulnerable with myself to be able to love myself a lot more, you know, al pesar de todas las cosas que la sociedad quiera, you know, decir de ti. And like I feel like it's a lot, but you know, like towards the end you really do learn to love yourself, and you know that it's the best decision you can make. Long story short, if I could change anything about myself, it'd probably be my height. I'd want to be a little bit more taller, honestly. But that's really it. I love every other part of myself, and I'm learning to love every other part of myself, so that's it. The next person is asking, what brand of underwear do you wear? Right now I'm wearing Calvin Klein. Right now I'm wearing Calvin Klein boxer briefs for men and women and people of all gender, non-binary. Okay. The gender appropriation. The pronouns. But yeah, right now I'm wearing those. But usually I wear anything, you know, so I don't have to wear no type of certain like underwear or none of that stuff. I just wear like what I can afford and things like that. Like whether that be Hanes, Calvin Klein, Fruit of the Loom, pues tangas, you know, like if, you know, lo que caiga. So the next question is, are you religious? Short answer, yes. Oh my god, we just went from tangas to religion. Yes, I'm religious, and I can talk about that in another video, because it's such a big topic for me and everything that I went through in, you know, coming from a religious background. But short answer, yes. I'm Christian, and I very much hold faith in my heart. I do believe in God, and I think it's, you know, it's a really good thing, you know. I mean, pues cada quien va tener sus creencias y todo eso, y pues, but like for me, like I grew up like that, so, you know, I kind of want to maintain that in my life. I think it's a good thing to have, but you know, everyone else is gonna see like what matches good for them. The next question is by Juan, and Juan is asking,
why are you gay?
Who says I'm gay?
You are gay.
You're bi.
You're bi.
Juan, I know that was like a silly question. You wanted to like, you know, like be funny, but really, I love that question. There's a whole backstory to it, and that's also another video that I want to make in the future. Jotitos, these questions are very much like deep, y pues obviamente quisiera responderlas en 12 segundos, 13 segundos, 30 segundos, pero en realidad no se va a poder hacer así, porque, you know, life is just so complex, and I have so much to tell. I have so many stories to tell, and you know, I want to like dedicate the appropriate time to these questions. So I'm just doing this as a first video, but in the videos to come, I will be giving in-depth videos of these questions if you guys are interested, and I very much would like to answer any questions because these are very good topics. The next question is, what country would you like to visit someday? So like I said at the beginning, guys, I was born in Guerrero, so obviously I think my first choice of the country I would like to visit is Mexico, of course. I wanna see my family again. I want to meet a lot of my family members that were born while I wasn't there. I want to meet my grandparents, you know. I've had the privilege of having my abuelita fly out for my graduation happening in a little bit, but either way, you know, that's just like a tiny bit of my heritage and my family and my background. So obviously, first choice, Mexico, right there in Tlapehuala, Guerrero. Y pues le mando saludos a todos mis familiares que me están viendo de Guatemala. ¿Oh? De Guatemala, what the fuck? Todos mis familiares que me están viendo de Tlapehuala, Guerrero. I don't know why I said Guatemala, that just rolled off the tongue. Anyways, but yeah, that would be my first option. And then other than that, I'd love to visit a lot of countries in Europe. I know Europe's the continent and there's so many countries, but there's so much. You know, hopefully un día, si Dios quiere, I'm gonna be able to fly overseas. The next person is asking, what's your favorite drink? And they put a little chela emoji next to it. I'm 21, by the way, like I stated in the beginning, but my favorite drink would have to be PBR. It would have to be a vodka lemonade, because, okay, why am I lying? Truthfully, guys, I don't know. I'm not much of a drinker.
They gave me
2 chips, although I asked for an apple.
Yo no tengo vicios, yo no fumo, yo no tomo alcohol ni nada de eso. ¡Ay, llora! I'm not much of a drinker. I barely started drinking recently, so I think I'm still figuring it out. Give me some grace, and then, I'll get back to you like in a year or so, and I'll let you know. The next person is asking, how do you cope with the struggles of life/pressures from society? That is a very good question. And I feel like I was stating in the beginning with the insecurity question, there's so much pressure from society. Pues like siempre van a ver las expectativas de los demás para tu vida, en decir, tienes que vestirte así, tienes que caminar así, tienes que hablar así. But at the end of the day, we only get one life. And, it depends on us how we want to live that life. If we want to live that life in fear. And I feel like for the most part, I feel like a lot of it is us, Society can have so much, shit to say. Your family can have so much stuff to say. Your friends can have so much stuff to say. They can expect so many things from you. But in reality, it's your decision, and it's you gotta have that autonomy and, have that conscience to be able to say, it's my life. I'm the one that goes through everything in my life. So, I'm gonna do what makes me happy. Growing up, I'm not gonna say growing up gay because I wasn't out like that, but growing up, I guess like as a closeted guy, I don't even know how you can think I'm closeted, but because it's obvious, uno de chiquito, uno de niño, uno de chamaco ya sabe, qué le gusta, qué no le gusta y todo eso. And es algo muy controversial, pero at the same time, it's your body, it's your life, it's your conscience. So me, ever since I was a kid, I knew who I was damn well. So I just, I think it's also a maturity thing, and you kind of just, not mature as in immature and mature in the sense that as you get older, you get wiser, and then you develop your perspective on life so much more, and that way you're able to deal with the pressures of society. I would just encourage that, take it little by little, take it day by day, y pues poco a poco vas a ver que, you end up loving yourself a little bit more. And here's another deep question. If you could have 5 minutes with anyone, who would it be and what would you ask? I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in a future video, but a la edad de los 8 años, mi papá falleció, y pues, it impacted me a lot. Just like my development, my childhood, there was so much stuff that happened and that I went through, and I feel like, pues, va a tener su video parte donde voy a dedicar un video completo donde voy a hablar sobre todo lo que pasé en mi niñez y todo eso, pero with my dad, it was a lot. So to answer your question, I would love 5 minutes with my dad if he was still here. My biological dad, sorry. I love my parents, I love my family, and I'll talk about my family in a future video. But yeah, I feel like I would love to just ask him why certain things happened the way they did, or his life story, his childhood, his upbringing, why he was the way he was. And I feel like that's super deep, and I'm vaguely touching about it, but one day I'll title a video for that. The next question is, do you ever want kids? Yes, I want kids. I would love kids. I love kids. I love babies, and I just love, I've had younger siblings. I have 3 younger siblings, and I've loved seeing them grow up. My baby sister's 3, and I very much love when they're babies, newborns, babies, toddlers. I don't like when they turn 6, 7, 8 years old, because then they kind of develop a conscience that they're real, and then they're not as cute and innocent anymore. But I do love babies, and when I raise some of my own, I'll obviously tolerate every stage of their development. So the next question is, are you a U.S. citizen? Truce. You're really handsome, by the way. Okay. I'll answer that in a future video, but I think if you follow me on Instagram, and by the way that I've been responding to the rest of these questions, you can probably assume. But either way, I'll talk about that in another video. The next question is,
Do you shave your pussy?
The next question and the last question for this is plans after graduation, future goals, and are you staying in your city or are you moving? As of right now, I will be staying my ass put because I do not have the finances to move out of state, but I very much am looking for different opportunities, looking for jobs. Right now, I'll look into where I'm going to live after getting off campus, to an apartment, whatever it may be. I'm just open, lo que caiga, whatever the next steps may be, y lo que Dios diga, because honestly, I have a whole bunch of plans, but sometimes it's not always possible, or sometimes it's not always the way we want, you know. Sometimes you obviously, like, cosas de la vida, you know, like, it changes your plans. So right now I'm still thinking of looking at jobs here in my city, and I want to stay in my city. I want to be in my community, so hopefully, you know, I get a full-time job. Whatever it may be, I am applying, I am receiving emails, so I'll let you guys know. You guys will be the first to know whenever I'm moving on to the next phase in life. Now I wanted to conclude the video with giving a sneak peek towards the questions that I'll be answering in the next video. So a lot of these were very general, just getting to know me, but the next videos will be a little bit more serious and a little bit longer, diving into the very specific questions you guys were asking. One of the questions, actually most top questions that was asked: ¿Tus padres saben que eres gay o bi? Si saben, ¿cómo les dijiste tú a ellos y fue difícil? And then someone else asked same thing, but in English. They asked, parents accepting of you being gay or bi? Question mark. Someone else asked for a coming out story or a gay awakening, whatever you guys want to call it. And that was it for the gay shit, basically. Las preguntas de los jotitos, ¿verdad? So in the future videos, I'll be answering that. I will label it as my coming out story, and you guys will be the first to hear when that drops. I'm very, very excited to share my story about my background and about how it happened, and, you know, the way that it happened. So, you know, like, I'm very excited to share that part of me with you guys. And, you know, poco a poco estoy perdiendo el miedo para poner, you know, my voice out there, my videos and all that. So, you know, hopefully this isn't the last time we get together in the studio. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Jotito's Podcast with your host, Jesus Martinez Aviles. I love every single one of you. Thank you for the answers. I'm sorry this was quick, pero así tiene que ser, because we're just testing the waters right now. We want to see how much engagement we're going to get, and I want to see how I'm going to go about explaining my actual life story in the next video. Thank you for dipping your toes in the waters with me in this first video. I love you guys. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, whatever it may be, y pues nos vemos en la próxima.
Échale, mijo. Okay.